So now we're going to look at significant figures. So significant figures are basically an indication for us as to how accurate we know a number when we've done a measurement on it or a calculation with it. So our rules for significant figures would be, starting from the left side of the number, you need to identify the first non-zero digit. And from there we'll count to the right all the numbers, including the one that we started with. If there is no decimal, zeros at the end of the number may or may not count. If there is a decimal place, zeros at the end are significant figures. And zeros between any non-zero number are always significant. Now these last ones kind of blend together. Let's actually take a look at starting from the left side and counting over. So starting at the left end of the number over here, I'll go to the first non-zero digit, which is actually the first number here, 2. And from there I can count every number to the right of that. So 2, 3, and 8 are all significant figures. So in this case, there would be 3 significant figures. And one thing to keep in mind is that every single non-zero digit is a significant figure. Looking at the next example, same idea, we'll start on the left-hand side and we'll move that direction, looking for the first non-zero digit. Here we have a 0, 0, 0, 3, that's our first non-zero digit, and we keep counting them. 0, 0, and 5. Those next 4 will also be significant figures. So 4, SF. And here we see zeros between non-zero digits. And the zeros in front we're actually ignoring. They're not significant, which is why we always start at the left and go over to the first non-zero digit there. In the next example, 40.57, starting at the left and moving over, our first non-zero digit is actually the 4, and we count everything after that. So in this case, again, 4 significant figures. Here we're looking at a 0.010, starting again at the left, counting over. To the first non-zero digit, we see the 1, and we see a 0 afterwards. So again, starting with that rule, if we always start to the left, first non-zero digit, and anything after that would be significant, this would be 2 significant figures. And that one is an indication that if there is a decimal point, zeros at the end are significant. That's an example of that right there. And starting with the left hand for the last example, 2,500. Well, we start with a 2, that's non-zero, so it counts, a 5, and we can keep counting, 0, 0. But here you notice there's no decimal. And this is an example of the situation here. There's no decimal point given, so in this case, we're a little bit uncertain about the number of significant figures. There's a couple correct answers we could write down. We could count both of those and say it's 4 significant figures. It could also be 3 significant figures, leaving off that last 0 and ignoring it, or just 2 significant figures, counting just the 2 and the 5. And the reason we don't know is because the number may have been rounded and those zeros are actually non-significant to the accuracy. Or maybe they are and we just don't know that. So again, any of these 3 answers would be correct. 4, 3, or 2 significant figures. And the reason for that is that there was no decimal point. So the zeros at the end of that are questionable. Unlike in this example above, we see a decimal point, so everything after is going to be significant. The 0 on the end there will be significant, unlike the zeros here that may or may not be.